that took me about 20 minutes. It was going on forever. Trying to get these, let's give you a close up. Trying to get all these things, these pivots or whatever you want to call them, matching up in the top and bottom. It's a bloody nightmare. And you can't be too forceful, because if you get it wrong, you'll end up smashing the end of the pivot. It will snap off, and then you're kind of buggered. Or you can get replacements. Once they're all in, I check all the wheels for what they call end shake. Got to have a little bit of wobble, as you can see. Like, lets you know that they're free. Right, so that's the basic part of the mechanism put back together now, and the next stage is just building up this side of it. Right, it's been 24 hours. The milliput has fully hardened now, ready to be rubbed down. And I was a stupid idiot, I forgot to fill up these two holes as well, where there used to be a statue or something. So I'm going to have to do that and come back to those tomorrow. But for now, I'm just going to try and shape this as best as I can. I'm not going to bore you with how I do it. Right, this is how I've been getting along so far. Getting a nice shape. This is with the rough paper. I'll just finish it off with something fine and finer and finer until I eventually finish. And here's the finished repair. As you can see, other than the sort of different texture, slight shine, I can't really tell that it's been repaired. So once I add the dye onto this, it's going to make it sort of almost invisible, not completely. Now all I've got to do is fill out these bleeding things which I forgot yesterday. Most of the repair work has been done to the case now. I've had to refill a few little bits and pieces. As you can see here, where the filler wasn't put in deep enough, so I've had to go over it slightly. I'm now kind of ready to start putting most of the clock together, but not completely together. Basically, I want to put the this piece underneath here, and then these two pieces on the bottom bits there. I'll let them go off until tomorrow, and then I'll be able to set the whole top onto the clock and polish it and put the mechanism in. So my first job is, let me think, is to put these two pieces on the bottom like that. That's easy. I'm just using silicone. I've used it before and it works fine. Get it to click off. There you go. Just make sure it's not going to splodge over the edges. I know the back is fully flush. Got to fix that rocking leg as well. So there you go, that's one in. Dodgy old caulking gun. Right, so those two bits are in place now. For the top, the way I'm going to do it, because I've got one still in there, I'm going to place this in its position nice and tightly. And this bit, old silicone with my amazing caulking gun that doesn't want to stop. This here. Yeah, pushing it into position there. That's it. No, it's not quite right. It's a bit of an awkward shape because of that rounded bit. Making sure it's in the right position. So once it's in, it's in. There we go. So I'll leave that now for tonight. Tomorrow I'll finish off rubbing down these areas with the filler, and then I'll be able to lift off the whole thing, put my columns back in place and the little plaques, and glue it all back together once and for all, and then give it a good polish. Right, with the little side bits now polished, I'm ready to start putting the clock together. The first thing I'm going to do is start putting these columns on. Now I've marked them so that I know where they go, I think. And what I'll do is, just as a little bit of a cushion, put a little dot of silicone in a little hole where they go into. I love this silicone, go and look at it. Right. Right, back here for another day. I've been rubbing down the rest of the filler on the case, and that's finished now, so I'm quite happy with that. And I've obviously last night I glued some pieces together in preparation for today when I put it all together. So I want to show you the bits and pieces that are going to go on. Here are the pillars. I took them apart, spent ages cleaning them up and polishing them up. They were really difficult because all the little intricate bits and pieces there, but got there eventually, and resprayed the center columns black. I think that's how they were originally, and I thought I'd stick to that rather than just having the polished bronze or brass or whatever it is. I thought stick to original. And here are the little plaques, the cherubs, and another set of pillars there. So all in all, you could see the repair there. That was the worst of it. Got these two, but they'll hopefully disappear once I colour it. And there's a couple of other bits and pieces somewhere. Well, yeah, there's one little one there. It's come out pretty good. But what I'm going to do, before I glue everything back together and put the columns in, what I'm going to do is
colour this area round here and the underside of this, because it will be easier to do it now than when I put the columns on, and I wouldn't have to sort of squeeze my fingers through there and whatever. So I thought I'll do that quickly and polish that up, and then put the whole thing back together and carry on putting the black polish on it. Right, with the little side bits now polished, I'm ready to start putting the clock together. The first thing I'm going to do is start putting these columns on. Now I've marked them so that I know where they go, I think. And what I'll do is, just as a little bit of a cushion, a little dot of silicone in a little hole where they go into. I love this silicone, go and look at it. Right. I've marked them and I'm still going to get it wrong. See? Right, and now I'll put some silicone on here. And a little bit on each one of these. I'm using white, but really I should have used translucent, but I didn't have any. So, if I get this right, perfect. Just set these columns facing the right direction so that they're all squared. And that's it for now. The clock is beginning to look finished.
dial on this clock is quite dirty over the years. I imagine that you can't really clean these things because, as you see, where I've started trying to clean it, the numbers are beginning to fade off. There's no way around it, so I'm going to go for it and clean it up, get it as shiny as I can, or as to original as I can. And I know I'm going to lose the numbers, but I'm going to try these water slide decals and see if I can make it look original afterwards. The only other choice is to have left it like that with a mucky dial, but I don't like it because I'm getting everything else so polished and new looking. I don't feel it's right to leave the dial so dirty and grubby. As I say, I know I might be shifting slightly away from originality in the way that I'm going to try and put these numbers back on, but I've really got no choice. And it's for me at the end of the day. I don't do these things to sell them. It's for my personal satisfaction. I'm going to be using this stuff, Priory Polishes. It's like a ammonia stuff, whatever it is. I'm just painting it on with a paintbrush and sort of dabbing it, and it's lifting up the dirt, and then using a little nail brush to sort of scrub it in, which is why I'm losing my numbers. Polishing's been all finished now, and it's all looking pretty good. I just want to show you around the clock before I do my next step. So, as you remember, there was a crack on, yep, that side there, which is barely visible now. You can just see it in the light, and there's also was a couple of dots there, or holes there, which I've filled there. You can catch them in the light. But otherwise, it's looking really good, nice and shiny. I've just got to put the remaining plaques on, and then I'm going to do the fill in the engraving. So I'm going to flood them with a bit of gold paint. Oh, missed a bit there. Yeah, I need to flood the engravings with some gold paint. I've done a video on that before, so you can look at those. Just finished the clock as far as I can go for now. Put it all together and make sure it works fine. I had one or two little problems, but everything seems to be working lovely now. I'll just give you a little tour around it. I did have some problems with the chiming mechanism, and it wasn't chiming the amount of hours that the time was. It would only single chime. So after a lot of opening it up, putting it back together again, I found what the problem was, which is sort of, I wish I'd filmed it now, because it would have made an interesting little film to sort of see what caused it. But I was kind of quite chuffed that I managed to suss it out by myself without even looking on YouTube, and I doubt anyone on YouTube would have shown anything like that. But as it is now, it all works lovely. So if I sort of, though it doesn't strike dead on like the hard past and things like that. There's my half past. Somewhere inside there's a little adjustment I've got to make. I know what I've got to do, and I will open it up and sort that out again. But that's lovely. Round the back, I rubbed this down and gave it a coat of satin black. Unfortunately, the little silk dust screen kind of deteriorated when I tried to wash it, so I'll have to come up with something similar and glue on there. Meanwhile, inside you'll see a really nice shiny mechanism, the way I like them to That's the other clock now chiming with the real time. There you go. Everything looks really nice in there now. This time genuinely polished, not just tricking me like it did in the first instance when I first opened it up. Here's a close-up of the clock. As you can see, I've polished out the numerals from the dial. It was either that or leave a dirty dial, so I've taken a chance, polished everything up because it looks much nicer as it is, and I've ordered some film-free water slide decals, if I remember that correctly. So basically it's a water transfer, but it only leaves behind what you've printed as opposed to a ring of plastic around it, if that makes sense. It does to me anyway. I know what I want and I'm waiting for it to come all the way from Australia. So that's going to be a few weeks, and if I get that right, this is going to look really, really good with nice crisp numbers. I did have a go at painting them before I sort of polished them off, but I did a really messy job of that, and decided I'm going to take a chance. Worst case scenario, I just leave it without no numbers. I still prefer it rather than a manky old dial. So that's all looking nice. The other thing that I did, I've never done this before, is you won't be able to see it properly, but I polished up the hands and got them shiny as possible. And then I did this bluing technique, which involves heating up the hands in a little bed of brass filings until they turn blue. Well, mine haven't turned properly blue, but they look really good. They're actually kind of more of an anodized colour, but they look so much nicer than the other option was just to polish them and leave them looking silver, which wouldn't look right for the clock anyway because there is no silver on it. Going back to the original problem, which was a big chunk that was taken out of there, as you can see, that looks pretty good now. It's even with the naked eye, it's barely noticeable unless you know what you're looking for, and you'll only see it if you are actually looking for it. The two dots there, I could have done a little bit better with them. And there you go. If I catch that in the light, you could just about see that. But as I say, it actually looks better in real life. That turned out pretty good. So I'm happy again with that. I'm always happy. No, I'm not. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something from it. I learned something from it. And look forward to doing my next one as soon as I can find another clock.